It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. We come together today to recommit ourselves to the fifth principle of our faith, democracy, and to vision together what our world and what our Texas will be like 1,000 elections from now, if we do that work that Dorothy Day and W.E.B. Du Bois call us to do. My colleague, the Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore, the Minister for Lifespan Religious Education at the UU congregation Shelter Rock in New York, tells this story in Centering, Navigating Race, Authenticity, and Power in Ministry. She tells of Shirley Chisholm, who was asked why she, a Black woman, was running for president in these United States of America. Someone asked Shirley Chisholm, they said, "You don't have a chance. Why are you doing that?" And she said, "Because I am in love with the America that does not yet exist." And that's how Unitarian Universalism is also, says the Reverend Dr. Fenimore. I'm in love, she says, with the Unitarian Universalism that does not yet exist. I have to hold both the love for that thing and the love for the reality. It does not exist yet. It will probably not exist in my lifetime. I don't think it will in that of my children. But I can't deny my love for it. You know, wanting to be there in that struggle. That's why I'm fighting. I think about this reading all the time. I am in love with a United States and a democracy that does not yet exist. I love my Unitarian Universalism as we are right now, and I have a vision for what it could be like. I would like to share with you, because sometimes we take our principles, we get used to them, we don't read them all, and I'm going to share with you exactly what our fifth principle of the faith has to say. It says, Unitarian Universalist congregations together affirm and promote our fifth principle, the right of conscience, and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. That means we have work to do. I'm tired. Are any of you tired of the politics and the wearing down in our state? It's hard. And I don't stand up here to pretend to you that it's easy at all. What I know is that there's joy in working for democracy together. What I know is that there are people in this congregation and in UU congregations all around the state and in our partnerships who are doing the work and are asking us to join them. Here in Houston, Harris County, here's some good news for you. You've added more voters than any other county in the past 4 years, an increase of more than 230,000 new voters. Let's go, Harris County. Harris County has more than 2.6 million registered voters as of last month, January. Now, I talked with one of your members during coffee hour, Rob Hallenbeck, who does the work of registering voters, of being an election judge, and all those things that it takes to keep our democracy going. And I asked Rob, because the Texas UU Justice Ministry is all of us. We bring our wisdom, you bring your wisdom. And I asked Rob, what would you want your congregation to know right now in this election year and as we're working together? And Rob said what the numbers tell us to be true. We can get people registered. We are getting people registered to vote. But what we need is to get people to actually vote. That is our work this year, my fellow UUs, is to get those people in Harris County that you did the faithful fifth principle UU work to get registered actually to the polls. Because I'm going to tell you something. I am a fourth-generation Texan raising fifth-generation Texans. I am in the middle of a three-generation UU family sandwich. I've got my mom at FIRSTUU in Austin. I've got my kids who are teens doing this work with me. And I love the Texas that actually does exist. It's diverse. It's beautiful. But the people who are getting elected by a tiny percentage of us do not represent that beautiful diversity and the wisdom of so many different life experiences. So we've got to get more of us and more of the people in the communities that we're not even in touch with yet. That's a lot of our work, to the polls. Josh Houston of Texas Impact, which is our interfaith partner in this work, says, feel like your voice doesn't matter? Only 14%. And I'll tell you, Josh put an exclamation point in parentheses when he sent this. Only 14% of eligible Texans vote in the March primaries. But that's when most state legislative seats get decided. Legislators aren't ignoring their constituents, Josh says. They're just listening to the folks who bother to show up. Now, with love and respect to Josh, I'm going to take that word bother and I'm going to wag my finger a little bit. Because it's not just about whether people bother to show up. The vote, the effort to suppress so many people's vote is epic. And that's why it needs us to counteract it, to help college students find their polling place, to reach out and make sure people know how to vote. Rob also reminded me, I loved how Scott said, the best way to find out if you've got a typo is to hit send. For me, the best way to find out if you read the information not quite right is to say it out loud in the pulpit, and then someone will tell you in coffee hour. So I said that tomorrow is the deadline to register so you can vote in the general election. That's not true. Tomorrow is the deadline so you can register to vote in the primary in March, which is extremely important. So if there are people in your lives or communities that you can reach in the next 24 hours, that's my challenge to you. If there's anyone you're not sure if they're registered for the next 24 hours, let's see what we can do about that. But then more importantly, we need to do the work of getting people to the polls. And that is what your Texas UU Justice Ministry is here to do with you as a faith practice this year. If you do nothing after this service, I hope you'll go out and see Diane Reese at the JCC table. She's got signups for this Get Out the Vote work. We are working on a collective grant. We have taken your input. We surveyed every congregation in the state of our UUs to ask what are the issues that are most important for you. And we hear you: reproductive justice, climate justice, racial justice, immigration, economic justice, voting rights and saving democracy, gun control. There's so much, and we can't do it alone. So we're writing a grant for our organizers to have more time to work with our congregations to get people to the polls this year who can vote and be heard. Because let's talk about the numbers again for a little bit. Only 32% of Texas citizens age 18 to 24 voted in the 2000 presidential election. 32%. 52% of those 25 to 44, 63% of those in my age bracket, 45 to 64, 67% in the 65 to 75, and 60% of those who are older. That's a lot of people for us to reach as a practice of faith. I especially want to lift up, under the categories of racial demographics, white folks and black folks are voting about the same amount, 58%. Hispanic folks, 41%. Do we have any Spanish speakers in this congregation? A few. We really need you And we really need to connect with the organizations that do have volunteers and materials so we can reach communities, particularly Spanish-speaking communities, so they'll know and they have the information of how to vote. Let's see. Who in this congregation gets bombarded by text, by call, by letters, by people of the two major parties trying to get you to vote? Me too. Me too. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how the partisan well, we could debate if there's anything wrong with that. But for our purposes right now, that's not what I'm here to talk about. But that is what the partisan communications machine is for, to get those of you that they can count on, those of us that they can count on, to vote a certain way to the polls. Our job as Unitarian Universalists who believe in the fifth principle is to reach people in a nonpartisan way for the very act of democracy, to have faith in people's voice and lived experience, which is one of the sources of our faith, to simply trust that if we had more than 42% of people living in poverty voting, if their voices were being heard by our elected officials, our laws would be different. If we had more than 32% of the people who didn't graduate high school voting, things would be different. The voices of the people matter. That's our spiritual work to do. I'm not discouraging you from doing work with the party that you're a part of, whether it's a third party or a major party, but I'm asking you to please get involved with UU Justice Ministry and your JCC here at your church this year in the Get Out the Vote work, not because we want particular outcomes this year, though we may, but because we want something so powerful, something like beloved community, something so beautiful, 1,000 elections from now. And with that in mind, I want to invite you into the spirit of meditation, of imagination. It is so hard sometimes to imagine another world, but it is possible, and we must be the ones to dream it. So will you imagine with me a Texas where everybody votes? A Texas where it's easy to vote, so everyone is heard. What is the land like where you live and where you love, with legislators who've heard from everyone? Can you see it? Will you take a breath with me? How does it feel to breathe the air where people who are directly impacted by the climate crisis have voted and are holding our elected officials accountable for the air that we breathe? Imagine with me generations and generations and generations into the future as they go to seek health care. Your great, 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 great granddaughter walks in and is believed, can afford the health care she needs, is trusted. Our trans siblings and beloveds get the health care that they need because everybody's voice has been heard. Because I know, I travel to all corners of Texas in this job, and I know deep in my soul that if every voice in this state was heard, we would have the rights and the opportunities that we need. I'm a mother. I was a school teacher before I was a minister, and I invite you to imagine with me taking your kids 1,000 elections from now and taking them to school without fear of gun violence, without fear that they will be taught only part of the story of our history. And I'm going to allow some silence for you to imagine the thing that you want to see 1,000 elections from now, after we've done our work to make those ripples. Picture it. Will you come back into this space with me? How could we not be the ones to play some small part in that? I'll tell you, one of your Bay Area UU siblings told me a story last week when I went to visit them, and I share with her permission. She said, I did some get out the vote work 2 years ago, and we went to some apartment complexes near me. And I knocked on a door, and the woman came to the door, and I said, I wanted to talk with you about getting to the polls, and do you have what you need to get to the polls? And she said, wait, no one ever comes to talk to us. Let me get everyone from my household, and let me get my neighbors. And they brought people, and our Get Out the Vote folks talked to them. Not everybody even knows it's election day. We have a lot of work to do, and it matters that we do it. I want to invite you to rise, because I promised you the song from earlier, and I need you to do it with me. Will you rise in body or spirit if you're so willing, and join me in some snaps? All right, and when you get the song, sing it with me. Come on, come on, come on, don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on, don't you want to vote? Just like that. Come on, come on, come on, don't you want to vote? Oh, yes, I want to vote. Will you meet me at the polling place? Meet me at the polling place. Don't you want to vote? Will you meet me at the polling place? Don't you want to vote? Oh, will you meet me at the polling place? Don't you want to vote? Oh, yes, I want to vote. Do it for the children. Do it for the children. Don't you want to vote? Do it for the children. Don't you want to vote? I said, do it for the children. Don't you want to vote? Oh, yes, I want to vote. All right, now stay standing with me. Thank you. You sound so good. And isn't Chelsea just the greatest? All right. I love coming to this church. All right, stay standing with me. I'll tell you two things. Number one, I took out one of the verses we did in the first service, which was, have you registered somebody? Because I talked to Rob, and you have. You've done it. Your job is to get the people to the polls. I'm just letting you know. Put that song in your pocket from the Christian tradition, which has been altered from Don't You Want to Go to Don't You Want to Vote, from the civil rights tradition, from the Black tradition, as we are here in February, but all year long. Take that in your heart, put it in your pocket. Now, if you serve as a board member or a volunteer team member or advisory council member on the Texas UU Justice Ministry, would you please take a seat? Thank you so much. I see you, and thank you for your work. If you have been a recent volunteer or donor in the last couple of years to the Texas UU Justice Ministry, I invite you to have a seat. Thank you. If you have been living through this time in Texas, just trying to survive, just trying to take care of yourself and your family, and it's really hard, I see you, and I invite you to have a seat. It's okay. All right. Oh, that's everyone. Well, then that's real. That's real. But what I have to tell you is, especially everybody who was still there in that last group, you are the good news. You are the good news, because some of those few people that you saw who sat down were a little bit tired. And we are deepening our commitment. We are praying about it. We are being about it. We are showing up together. But could we use reinforcements? And so I would really like to invite you into this work with us, especially in this election year. And even though Du Bois said that today is the seed time and tomorrow is the harvest and the festivities, I'm trying to remember the exact words, but basically the party, I want you to know that we believe in all of it at once. We are having fun together. We are sustaining ourselves through community, through song, through celebration, because the work is hard and it does make everybody want to sit down. But we are so needed. We are so needed. And the fifth principle calls us. So before I go, I just want to give you some simple asks. Keep your faith in democracy. Imagine what it would be like if we didn't have it. We have to fight for the things that we've already won so we don't lose them, and you know that. Everybody out there who fought for abortion rights knows we have to keep up the fight, and the democracy is the same way. So keep the faith, and when you hear people talk about how their vote doesn't matter, I beg you to bring them the good news that their vote does matter, and we do need them. And just a reminder about gerrymandering, it doesn't affect statewide elections. So a lot of times people say, oh, gerrymandering, it doesn't matter. It matters for who our governor is, for who our attorney general is, just those two roles alone. Absolutely, but I'm thinking about the work that our governor and our attorney general have done against our human rights. Please, please tell your friends, your family, your community that their vote matters. We need them. So that's one. Keep the faith in our fifth principle. Number two, please sign up at the justice table for the Get Out the Vote work. Please sign up at txuujm.org for our emails. Again, that's txuujm.org. Come and see us in the programs that you'll find on our website, our Action Hour, our statewide gathering coming up March 23rd in Dallas. And support the Get Out the Vote efforts as you hear about them in your church. We're working on it with you. So if you're paying attention to what's going on here, we're supporting that and we're working with you. And we are very excited for what's possible this year. We know the difference we can make because we've done it before. And so we just need you to keep the faith in the fifth principle with us. And the next time I come see you, I'll tell you about all the wins we had since I saw you today. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the work that we're doing together. Let's sing.